Hi guys, welcome to a video. I haven't filmed a video in a really long time. And this will be a sit and talk video. So yeah, I'm really excited to film it because I have a lot of stuff to say. So I hope it's enjoyable to watch and helpful. Yeah, I just feel like I haven't I know I haven't really been on YouTube in terms of like posting videos and making content. Like, I have a whole bunch of reasons why, but I'm just gonna dive right into this video, and I'm gonna try not to kind of like harp on like one single point and like not over explain, because I do have a tendency to do that. So I'm gonna try my best. I did write out some bunch of notes because that will hopefully keep me on track with the subject. And there's several subjects, but for now, let's just have some, I don't know, coffee with Emily vegan flour? What? I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but let's just get in, let's just roll with this, okay? First of all, before we dive into the video, although this is kind of like a segue into the video, for sure, so yesterday and the day before, I actually like went to somebody's house, and like we met on YouTube. She is like in recovery from bulimia, and she's also been like through the vegan cheese grater, so to speak, like many vegan cheese graters, and she is like, she's younger than me, but like holy crap, like I'm pretty sure she is like mentally and like just everything that she is as a person, I feel like she's like 100 years old, just like full of wisdom and just like holy crap, like and so Julia, if you're watching this, I mean, I had such a good time, and just being able to talk about everything, and just like I've never felt like so like just understood, and I mean just being able to talk so openly about like everything I've ever been through, and like hearing all of this from you too, and just that was just that just like gave me so much, I don't know how to explain, like maybe like a boost of strength that like I wasn't finding within myself, even though like you are supposed to, you know, find the strength within yourself, and like I do believe that I have it somewhere buried inside me, but maybe you just helped me pinpoint the place on that map or something by sharing, you know, everything that you've been through. I mean, not like everything, but just, you know, a lot. And like I just can't even explain how helpful that was and is and will continue to be. So I'm gonna link her channel in the description so you can watch her videos. She has, you know, a whole story about her bulimia and recovery and everything, and it's just amazing. Like, she is absolutely amazing. She is just a radiant human being with like so much to offer the world, and like everything just whole, oh my god, like she is just a fund of information and love and just beauty, just radiating. I'm just like I'm somebody who like like I don't know, even when I was 6 years binge purge free, if I even uttered the word recovery out of my mouth, I would gag on it. I'm not even kidding. Like, I would absolutely gag on it. If there was any association with the concept of recovery and myself, I couldn't swallow it. I couldn't digest it. It was just like, no. And it's weird because now I do consider myself like in recovery, even though a lot of people would say I'm in quasi-recovery, like if by that definition, but I have other reasons why I don't think I am, because I believe recovery is like a really long process. Everyone's recovery is defined differently, so my recovery might be someone else's quasi-recovery, and somebody's quasi-recovery might be recovered for me, and everyone is so different. Kind of what I'm gonna talk about in this video is like that's kind of leading me into this topic, although it's like a little bit of a like branch off of what I was saying, but so I'm gonna talk kind of about two different topics, but they tie into each other. So these topics were things that either Julia and I talked about, or we talked about it a little bit, but then it kind of like sparked other ideas, and so now I'm sharing them. I guess like, what are my non-negotiables in recovery? Knowing what they are is so important. I can give some examples so you know what I'm talking about. I'm really sorry I'm gonna be looking at my list because again, we're 7 minutes into this video right now and I've already gone on, and I really want to keep this under 15 minutes if I can, but if I can't, I'm really sorry. So welcome to my channel. I ramble a lot and some people may find that annoying. Non-negotiables are kind of things like, you know, when you notice a pattern that like every time you do this thing, it somehow always leads to binging and purging. Like, I'm gonna talk about this through the lens of binging and purging because that's what I personally struggle with. So if you are somebody who like just restricts, or you fast or take laxatives or binge and purge in a combination of things, like no matter what it is, or over exercise, whatever it is for you, just swap my binging and purging words for what you struggle with if you would like to kind of apply this sort of mental technique to yourself, because I think it can be really, really helpful. We all have our non-negotiables, like things where you just can't really compromise it, where like it's not really being inflexible, but it's just things that like your recovery is not going to survive without. So for me, my non-negotiables, or I think okay, let me first list like the universal non-negotiables that I believe everybody has to have in some form or another, and then I'm gonna kind of talk about what mine are. So, and these can change over time, at least like the ones, the like very more specific ones. All right, so the first one that we all need is consistency. That doesn't mean that if you fall down and like have a slip up that you were inconsistent and therefore you failed. When like, if you have that mindset, that will lead to being inconsistent, because if you, well, or consistent, but consistent with failing, and like, but like if you don't view slip-ups as failing, view it as a learning experience, because if you view it as a learning experience, then you can not use it as an excuse to do it again if you learned. Like, and you know, for me, like when I have that happen, I try to learn from it, because I know that with me personally, bulimia is my addiction. If I binge and purge a little bit, I'm gonna binge and purge a lot. So like, I can't like do these little compromises, because I am a product of my compromises. My body is what I've compromised. My life is what I've compromised. And in order to improve what I've compromised, I have to have things that I can't negotiate with, like things that I will just do absolutely no matter what. And like, I'm not saying I'm perfect, because there's some things that are on my non-negotiables list and I break them, but I know that if I break these things, I break myself. And yeah, I've put myself back together a whole bunch of times, speaking in like metaphors obviously, but like, you don't know how many times, how many chances you have to do that. Eating disorders are deadly. And like, I've seen someone on YouTube who like acts like people, well, she talks as if people who are almost like afraid of dying from their eating disorder are like hypochondriacs or something, or like they're just very paranoid. Or if she kind of says that like, if you are afraid of dying from your eating disorder, or well, she doesn't say it, but she really implies it. Like, she almost sounds angry at people who are like talking about like how their eating disorder could kill them, maybe because she's had this for a long time and has not suffered any obvious health issues. And it's like, I can't really explain that, you know, like some people's bodies have different levels of resilience, and just because, you know, one person's body is not as resilient on the inside, like, that has nothing to do with anybody else. And also, I'm going off on a teeny bit of a tangent, so just bear with me, okay? But and then I feel like it's almost like if you express that you're afraid of dying from your eating disorder, somehow you're saying, oh, I'm so sick, I'm sicker than everybody, like, who hasn't died, and I could die, but like, what? I don't know. Like, I don't understand when people make their eating disorders a competition with other people's eating disorders. Like, I don't know. I maybe my eating disorder is atypical in this way, I don't know, but like, I don't do that. Like, I'm not in a competition with freaking anybody. My eating disorder is secretive. It's like, I mean, like, secretive in terms of like when I'm engaging in it. Like, I'm not thinking like, oh, can I like lose more weight than so and so, or like maybe I can just like binge and purge an extra time so that I'm sicker than them, and like I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm thinking about my own compulsions. I honestly, even like discussing weight and numbers and calories and frequency of behaviors, like that does not trigger me. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm atypical because, like, you know, clearly there's a reason why when you go to treatment, if you were to say like, at my lowest weight I was binging and purging yada yada this many times, like people might find that extremely triggering. Like even if you just mention like a number on like some Facebook recovery groups, people, like the admins will shut you down, and it's like, okay, I guess there's some validity to that, even if people do take it to an extreme. But again, my trigger points are not those. I can openly talk about any of that, but it's like, that's just not like what my disorder is about. So therefore, if I talk about that or hear people talk about that, it doesn't trigger me. I have very specific triggers. They're all like emotional triggers, and then food itself is the trigger, and my body and like how it responds to the food is a trigger. So I guess kind of where I'm sort of trying to go with this is your non-negotiables are yours, okay? Don't let my non-negotiables sway what yours are, but if it sparks an idea, then that's really good in terms of like, you know, what you feel are your best or most important non-negotiables. So that could be something just like in your head that, like, I don't know, like maybe you're afraid of dying, and don't let your eating disorder or some person who like tries to minimize like, oh, you're fine, or like, oh, you look normal, or like, oh, you're skinny but you're not like a skeleton, I don't know, like, or even if you're like not skinny or so, like who the fuck like gives a shit? It is a mind disease. Also, another thing is address physical health problems. Well, address all your physical health problems, yes, but especially prioritize the ones, even if it's just a health annoyance, like it's not a diagnosis, but let's just say it's a health annoyance. Prioritize those, because if you don't, they will hinder your recovery. And like, let me explain, like my digestion, my stomach, that actually something that Julia and I have in common among a lot of things is that, you know, when you start recovering or trying to be serious about it, or honoring your extreme hunger, which I will sort of briefly touch on, you know, if you've put your body through a lot, you have to, you know, especially with bulimia, like you're taking your digestive system that's like going this way and you're turning it around to work in the opposite direction, like the right direction that it should have been working for, you know, the past decade or something. So yeah, I mean, a non-negotiable for that would be, for me, is really hair in my mouth. That can't be good for my digestion. Anyway, if like you're having tummy troubles, I really think it's super important to address that. So if there are certain foods that you're having a very hard time with digesting, like Julia was telling me she has a hard time digesting beans, like, so what she does is, I think she takes like a digestive enzyme with it and some like probiotics, and like I actually just bought some probiotics when I was visiting her, and yeah, so I mean, like, don't be afraid to, I'm not going to say experiment on your health, because clearly like it's not safe to just like do whatever and experiment, but like just little things you can try where like if it just happens to not work, it's not going to hurt you, you know, and you can just stop whatever. So I have things like that that do help me. Nothing is foolproof, you know, if you are, and all of these things that I do, none of them will be effective if I'm binging and purging. So I don't do these things alongside with binging and purging and hope for the best. These are things I do when I'm not binging and purging to make it a little bit easier to sustain, at least physically. I'm not talking like emotions and stuff, because, you know, I mean, emotions are gonna happen no matter what, okay? Like I'm gonna feel pulled to engage in my addiction no matter what. But at least if my body has, you know, stands a chance, like it's supposed to last me my lifetime. So I mean, gotta, you know, treat it that way. But that's really difficult because sometimes I'm tired. I just want to die, honestly. Sometimes I do just want to die. I don't have any more patience for my body or my life or any of the things that I've suffered with, like, I sometimes just really, really want to die. I'm so tired. I'm so sick of just fighting my freaking brain constantly and just like feeling so alone and just messed up and like never feeling like I can come out from under. Like, I'm sick of it. Like, sometimes I really do just want to drive my car off a bridge and like to just not, like, I do something where there's like no chance of surviving, you know? And like, I'm not suicidal because there's only, like, I'm not suicidal because of my eating disorder. I'm more, I wouldn't say I'm suicidal, but I'd say like there's things in my life that feel like I can't escape, even worse than my eating disorder. And because of that, that keeps the eating disorder alive in a sense, because the eating disorder is what makes me forget those things. It puts those things kind of somewhere in the background, because if I'm engaging in my eating disorder, I can't think about all the stuff that I feel so trapped in that like can't be changed or whatever, or like can't go back in time and undo it or unfeel it. But like in the moment of binging and purging, you just forget. You forget who you are. You know, there's been times where like I forgot how to spell my freaking middle name. I didn't know how many L's were in my middle name because I binged and purged so many freaking times. Like, my brain cells just like, I don't know what happened. I couldn't spell my middle name on a job application because it was a really bad day. And like, you forget things. Like, your brain atrophies. Like, you like, but, and like, you'll forget, like, you forget who the fuck you are. Like, that's so scary. And like, you don't, it doesn't have to be as ridiculous as forgetting how to spell your middle name for like half of a second and then realizing, obviously, but you know, it could just be like what, you don't even know who you are. You know the inside of like random toilets that aren't even in your house, like just, you know, random ass toilets. You know the inside of those toilets better than you know yourself. Like, that is how I feel sometimes, and that is scary. Okay, that is really scary when you like, I can't really put it into words, so I'm just not going to, but it's very scary. Another non-negotiable of recovery, which I feel like a lot of people don't want to hear, is prioritizing food. Because yes, recovery is a mental process, and like, yeah, you can work on tons of things with your brain and everything, but I mean, you cannot recover or even like make any sort of like real progress like if your physical body is just being pulled in the direction of your grave. Like, you can't really improve your relationship with people. I mean, you're doing that while like one foot is in your grave. And you could say, no, it's not. I've had this for like ever, this disorder forever. I mean, okay, me too. I've had it for like half my life. We don't get a free pass, and we don't know when our chances are up. And also, like, many people die in their sleep. And I'm not trying to scare anybody and be like, that's why you should try to recover, because guess what? Like, that never scared me. Like, I wanted to die in my sleep. That sounded super peaceful and like soothing to me, like, especially when I was like really in my behaviors. But like, I've been doing a lot better. So I mean I can say from both perspectives of when I was really in it and now I'm like really not so much in it. I can just say you do have a slight shift in thinking, I guess. And like, that doesn't mean that like everything is different and everything's great and whatever. Allow yourself to evolve. Allow your opinions to change. Just be open to exploring different possibilities, I guess, of your own mind and your own perspective. Don't hold on to a certain perspective. That's what keeps you sick, is feeling like you need to hold on to who you were in the past, maybe when you were like, I don't know, at your sickest or something. Like, that person who you were in the past is like, or who you are right now, like, that's not who you really are meant to be. And like, I'm trying to talk to myself so that when I watch this video at some point, I can kind of understand what I'm saying now. If I hit a point where there's like a bump in the road and I'm questioning everything, because I feel like we do that a lot when we're trying to get better. And this is for mainly for you guys, because I'm just one person, but I could just write in a journal and write that to myself. The reason I'm making this video is because I don't want to sit around and write in a journal. I want to spread the word. For the past while, I've kind of been trying in and out of like trying to change my ways and get out of my relapse, because on October 28th, I think, will be exactly a year that I have been in this relapse with like binge purge hell. And like I've had some minor successes with like at least like, you know, trying to get my health back at least. And like I've had periods of like not binging and purging for like a while too in that span of the relapse. But I wouldn't call it a relapse, it's just that I was 6 years like abstinent, and then I just like took a deep dive into that hell and just like never quite pulled myself out of it completely. And because of that, my health never got better completely. And like I hit my lowest adult weight, and like I'm not saying that as like bragging rights. I was genuinely concerned when that happened. There was no part of me that was like, you know, just a teeny bit like like, you know, thinking like, yes. Like, I don't know, a lot of people might think that. And like if you feel that me saying that when I hit my lowest adult weight I was concerned, if you think that maybe deep down inside my eating disorder was like happy about it or something, or like I was like sort of like embracing it a little bit, like, again, that is not a reflection of me. That's a reflection of like eating disorder stereotypes, I guess. And like for me, I was genuinely worried. I thought, I don't think I have body dysmorphia, so like when I get to a lower weight, even if it's just a little bit below like what's healthy for me personally, I think I look like shit. And that doesn't mean that I think that when I'm a healthy weight, I think I look amazing. I think I look like shit no matter what. So like whether I'm polished up or whether I've just binged and purged and I look like a mess, okay? At any weight, it's like I just think I look like shit because I'm me. And like I don't care how many times somebody might say, how can you even think that? Like, you are gorgeous. Like I've had people tell me I look like I could be like a freaking Instagram fitness model or something, from like multiple people saying that. And like, I mean, like I don't personally agree, but like by society standards, maybe some people think that. And I've also been told that like I'm like ugly as shit and like look like just terrible, like I guess by trolls on the internet or something. But like maybe like everyone's entitled to their opinion, but like I don't really care, like is what I'm trying to say. Like I'm not going, like I don't care what I look like to anybody else. My weak point is like what I care about is when I'm the one laying in bed at night in the cold silence of my room thinking about death and binging and purging. Like that is what really concerns me. That is like the scary part of the disorder, you know? Like that's what. And then obviously like hitting an adult lowest weight makes it feel a little bit like, I mean, because like I didn't just randomly hit a low weight. Like that happened because of my binging and purging. Even if it didn't happen, if I felt exactly as I felt even without that happening, the scariness would be just as valid. Like I don't freaking understand gauging how severe your behaviors are by like your outer appearance. Bodies adapt to things, you know? Like we all start at different points in our disorders, and our life is always like, I just don't understand the comparison thing, and like it really ticks me off. Kind of what I was trying to say before is like my digestion. So don't be afraid to eat in a way that makes your digestion as good as it can be while it's shitty for a while. People might say to you like, oh, that's orthorexic, you know? But for me, like, I mean, I really, at this point, I don't give a flying fuck. If that means when you go out to or if that means like not like avoiding going to restaurants for a while, freaking do it, okay? I mean, obviously if there's like a social thing where you have to, that's fine. But for me, like I don't do restaurants unless I can get something that is like something that I would prepare myself at home. Otherwise, I gotta be prepared to bring my own food. And people may not like that. People may roll their eyes at me and be like, really? You're going to a restaurant to eat your own food? And it's like, well, I didn't choose to go to a restaurant. I'm just trying to be agreeable, you know? And maybe if you go to a restaurant and you have to order food a certain way that you would make it at home, like, I'm just saying you, but I'm really just talking about me. Like, you may not have these issues, so you don't have to do this if you don't have these issues, okay? But for me, I mean, I really try not to eat things with a lot of oil. I have exceptions, like if there's like I eat a lot of hummus, and I don't want to make my own hummus all the time. Like, sometimes I just want to buy it. And a lot of hummus has oil in it, and I buy some oil-free ones, but sometimes I don't go to those stores and I just get like a random hummus and it has oil in it, like any kind of oil, and it has like, you know, I'm not gonna not eat the hummus, okay? Like, just like little things like that, like I'm fine with it. A salad dressing that's got like minimal ingredients, but like maybe the last ingredient is like a teeny weeny bit of oil, you know, something like that. Like, I don't really care. I don't cook with it though, and I don't pour it on my food, and I don't eat anything that's like fried. And the reason is not because I'm like, maybe this will make me slim and trim so that my recovery can be like also like I don't know. That's not what this is at freaking all. It's not me. It's none of that. It's like, I'm just trying to heal my digestion here. And like, I will always be vegan. Like, you never have to be like, oh, well, is Emily gonna make one of those why I'm no longer vegan videos? Like, dude, like, no. I'll always be vegan because like I'm an ethical vegan, so that doesn't change just because I like eat different, you know? But like within the vegan umbrella, because I'm a vegan in all, the ways, like whether it like not just in food ways, but like what I buy, what I wear, what I use. Like, I try to keep it as vegan as I can, you know? So people might get annoyed and be like, why are you asking if the steamed rice has oil in it? Or like, if say you go to like, you know, an Indian restaurant or something, and you're like, can I get this dish that is like classically made with oil? Can I get that without? And then it's like, why would you order something the culture makes a certain way and then tell them to alter it? That is like so insulting to everybody. If somebody does that, to heck with it. Like, this is your body, and I'm speaking for me, so this may not apply to you. You know, maybe you can digest oil really well. For me, I just can't. It like, as soon as like there's like it just like bubble, like it'll just turn everything in my stomach and make it start like kind of like, I don't know, like pop rocks. Like, that's how it feels in my stomach, like snap crackle pop. And like, I don't know, if you had that in your stomach, like that feeling, and like a long bulimic history of just purging and stuff, like for like even just minor discomfort, like, I don't know, that doesn't seem like such a good thing to do. I mean, that is just, you gotta be smart about it, and like, because I mean, and take your body seriously. And so if there's a food your body's like, you gotta listen, okay? Just from me to you. And like, I mean, I know like in veganism, the vegan online community, you know, there's a lot of like anti-oil stuff and whatever, but I mean, I get like, I do understand that, and like I actually agree that oil is just like a refined fat. Like, there's no, like, you know, nothing really in it. So I mean, yeah, I do agree with that, but I'm not like afraid of fats though. Like, I will just, and that's not why I personally avoid oil, although that could be a reason in the future, but like, I'm not concerned with that. For me, it's like literally just how it makes me feel. So there's that. So like, that's a kind of like non-negotiable, even if I like little bits find its way into my food, like I'm not obsessed with it. Like, you know, like it's just like things like where you just really have to look out for yourself, even if people cringe at you, even if people are like, you really gonna do that? If this is to better yourself, especially your body, which needs a lot of TLC, especially after it's been through all this bullshit, I mean, why not listen to it? And with that being said, let's not talk about like what you need to not do or whatever. Like, let's talk about what you should do. Like, everybody, okay? So you gotta be consistent with food. You might experience extreme hunger. Hello. I have a video about that I posted a year or two ago, I don't know, and I was talking about like kind of like bulimia, binge hunger urge is versus like actual extreme hunger, and I feel like I kind of downplayed the severity of like actual extreme hunger, like physically and like mental hunger, because I've watched a lot of videos, my dude, a lot of videos since then of people who have experienced exactly this. And I think when I made that video, I didn't really know the meaning of like the definition, I guess, of like at least how people experience it until I experienced it myself. Because when I have gone through like the weight restoration process, I did it in treatment because under protest, because I was a minor and I was forced. Right now I am kind of like weight restoring, but like beyond that, like I'm trying to like restore myself nutritionally, and I've been doing really well for maybe like, I don't know, I was kind of like trying for like several months. But in the past about like, I'd say month, maybe even month, I've been like actually responding to my extreme hunger. And like, I'm just gonna be honest here, like sometimes that means eating over 5,000 calories a day, like that being the minimum. Other times my extreme hunger is not quite as extreme, and I will feel like satiated on maybe like 3,000 calories or something, or like maybe a little bit less. But most of the time it's closer to the like upper 3,000s range. And like, I mean, I'm not saying that like, and here's the other thing is, I'm at a place where I want to stop counting the extreme hunger calories, because that, I feel like that, like, I don't know, like this is how like recovery can evolve at like a quick or a slow pace. Because I feel like by counting how many calories I'm eating in my extreme hunger, I'm almost like putting a cap on it, you know? Because like with this type of extreme hunger, there's like this level of urgency to just like, oh, and here's the other thing. I'll make a whole nother video on this and like redo that video where I talk about it, but like don't really understand it in terms of like when you're going through it yourself and you're not in a treatment center, so you're not on a meal plan, so like, or well, yeah, because like in treatment I was on a meal plan, so I feel like I wasn't in tune with my own hunger. So I feel like there is a certain level of intuitive eating that has to take place, but this intuitive eating is literally just listening to my body, which is like screaming for so much food. And it's not binge eating, even though I have a very, 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 very intense history of binging. It's different because, again, I'll make a whole nother video on this if you'd like me to. Let me know in the comments. But the things that my like extreme hunger craves or like pulls me toward it, like food wise, they're not things I would ever want to binge on. I mean, I've binged on like anything, so like, but they're like, you know, if I was desperate, I would binge on iceberg lettuce with vegan ranch dressing. However, with my extreme hunger, I crave very different, like, I don't crave Oreos. I mean, maybe I crave vegan ice cream sometimes, so like I'll have a little bit of vegan ice cream, but then I will actually like fill the bowl of like vegan ice cream, but like make a mountain of like the things that I'm really craving. And like what's weird is like with the extreme hunger, I feel like it points me in the direction of very specific foods with very specific nutrients, and I feel that that's my body telling me, I'm smarter than you, Emily. I'm smarter than, you know, what you think you need. Like if you know, like, yeah, Emily, you think you need 2,300 calories to like maintain your weight, but that's bogus, because we're trying to heal your organs. And guess what? You might actually, you meaning me, like you may need like 4,000 to like 6,000 calories for a period of time, whether you like it or not, whether you want to believe it or not. I'm smarter than you. I'm your body, and I'm gonna, you know, to heck with these, like, I don't know. And another thing I struggle with listening to my extreme hunger is a lot of people, I watch a lot of videos about this because I feel that it's good to educate myself on what I'm literally experiencing, and people who have overcome, not like overcome their extreme hunger, but they've gone through with the process of honoring it, and now they don't have extreme hunger. So that's what I'm talking about, you know? So I guess what like scares me with that, or I guess a struggling point, is that a lot of these people are much taller than me. I have never met somebody close to my height, of 5'1" who also had extreme hunger, because you hear like, oh, smaller bodies need less calories to like sustain themselves. So I feel if I were to listen to my extreme hunger and say my extreme hunger, I felt I needed like 10,000 calories, like not I, but like my body was pushing me in that direction. And like, I know it sounds stupid, like how does your body like just make you eat that much? Listen, if you haven't gone through it, like you don't understand the gnawing hunger in your chest when your stomach is so full. But like I feel this hunger like at the top of my stomach, almost as if like another section of my stomach just like branches off because my stomach is too full, but then like another thing like just opens up and it's like I can't eat anymore, but like I'm still hungry. And it's not like an actual like rumbling hunger, it's just like this like deep and like just like hunger. And like you might be like, oh, that's like emotional, and it's like, yeah, partially, yes. However, there's like a physical thing, and like that is what I'm talking about, like the physical. And like the physical is partially emotional, but I feel it physically. On the times when I've truly listened to my extreme hunger, which have been many times, I've noticed that day it is absolutely traumatizing. But the next day, or the day after, I feel like my body, and I'm saying like the next day and the day after, but I mean, I don't compensate for that at all. I continue to listen to my body, and I know that's not like, people cringe when people say that, like I do too sometimes, because it's like, what the frick does my body, oh my god, this light, I'm sorry, because sometimes I'm like, this light is so weird, the sun is like, because sometimes I'm like, okay, like I don't even know what my body needs, like I've abused it so much, like how can I trust it? And it's like, this is how you get to that point. I believe it's very difficult, but the things that I crave when I'm going through extreme hunger are like whole plant foods, so like very calorie dense, and sometimes very non-calorie dense mixed with the calorie dense. So like maybe I'll crave like a ton of broccoli, but I'll also crave it with like the equivalent of maybe like half of a jar of cashew butter. So I'll make a sauce with the cashew butter, put it on the broccoli, and then I don't know, like I'm craving like dense carbs. So, but for the dense carbs, like I'm not craving white bread. Okay, like my body is not pointing me in that direction. I'm probably craving maybe like 5 pounds of Japanese sweet potatoes. So, yeah. And I personally believe that honoring my extreme hunger with the foods that my body is like demanding, like, and they're all like pretty healthy foods, like I mean, just like that's nice that my body is actually pointing me in the direction of what it's needing, and I'm happy and I'm pleased with the fact that it's not pointing me in the direction of eating like, you know, like 10 boxes of Oreos, because that's what my bulimia would do, but not my extreme hunger, which that is how I can tell the difference. That's exactly how I can tell the difference. This is like my body trying to fine-tune its cues. I find by eating more like I don't like the word healthy, because like, I mean, nobody can be healthy all the time, like with their food choices, like life happens, you know? But I just mean like predominantly, and like if I end up eating a whole tub of hummus with oil in it, like, okay, fine, like, you know, but I'll be like dipping my like huge platters of potatoes and stuff and like in it, you know? And that is like exactly what my body craves all the time. So, and I'm not just like potatoes, but like, yeah, just like a lot of potatoes, a lot of rice, like rice noodle things, stir fried, just like some tofu and beans, big salads, but with like a lot of fat in them. So like all with like nut butter based dressings. Trader Joe's has some amazing dressings. They have like an almond butter turmeric one. They have that one is actually oil free. They have a miso ginger one. I don't know, they're like in the refrigerated section. That has a little bit of oil, but like, dude, it's good. I have it all the time. And then they have a green goddess one. That one has a little oil too, but like, I don't give a frick. It's so good. Me and Julia and I, we are hooked on all of those dressings, okay? You know, and I make my own dressings with like tahini and like, there's so much like good stuff out there. Let me just say that by listening to my extreme hunger, I am able to run a 10K in less than an hour. Now, some people who are like, you know, athletes or something might be like, you slow. And but okay, like that is like speedy. That is like speedy stuff, okay? And also, like I've actually, ever since my extreme hunger has even gotten more extreme, I've completely stopped that type of thing. Like I don't run. I've been lifting weights though. I've been lifting, okay? I've been hitting PRs, personal records, up the wazoo. Okay, now for some people who are like all really into lifting weights, excuse me, you might be like, that's nothing. Dude, I can hip thrust. I can hip thrust 135 pounds, and that I could do much more than that, but like that's like kind of like my comfort zone weight of hip thrust. Like that's kind of where I go for when like my go-to amount. I could definitely do more. I haven't tried it yet, but that's like the heaviest I've done. I can do that. I can, I mean, just like things like that, you know, like personal records. And like for when I don't really do cardio other than like just basic life things. Like if I'm walking somewhere or if I'm just going up a flight of stairs, like I'll just do the thing where you like skip over one step, you know, that's my cardio basically. So yeah, and I go to the gym just a few times a week, just do some like weight stuff, and like that feels really good. But if I wasn't responding to my extreme hunger, I wouldn't do it, okay? And I do home workouts too with my weights. There's, sorry about the light, it's like probably shining on all my horror facial features that I tried to cover up with a little bit of foundation. 20-pound dumbbells, a 40-pound one, a 30-pound kettlebell, and some 15-pound dumbbells, and 10 pounds. But like those are good for like arm stuff and like maybe like some little home thingies, but like I like to go pretty heavy, so that's why I like go to the gym when I want to do that. And I find that like it doesn't make my extreme hunger worse, because I'm not burning like a ton of calories. I'm just kind of like firing up my muscles, which I know does make you more like metabolically active, but I mean like that's fine because I want my metabolism to be like super, you know, on point. And like I'm already like eating so freaking much because of my extreme hunger that like, you know, doing that kind of thing doesn't like cancel anything out, because I'll just like eat that much and more, especially if I like feel like maybe I did go a little bit more intense than my body wanted me to, then I'll just like eat back that much and more. But like I don't wear anything to like track my anything like calories or whatever, but I'm just not concerned with that. But yeah, so I've kind of talked a lot about the physical stuff, so let me just like delve into the mental side, because this is the kicker that will be like the tear jerker, if you know what I'm saying. Like, so I made a chart and it's very hard to like read, so I maybe like if you can just, I'm gonna try to get it in the frame, and it may be tiny, so what you might want to do is, if you want to read this, I'll read it to you, but maybe just screenshot this and then zoom in maybe. I'm not really sure, but let me just, I hope, okay. Alright, well, I hope that worked, but well, I'm just gonna read it to you. So here's the thing, this is like a mental exercise that I'm using to, again, Julia sparked this during a conversation we had, but for me this has like been my newest since yesterday mental exercise, and I think you guys should try it. So I've already mentioned it to one of my friends, and I feel like it also might help him too. And like yeah, like, and also like, you know, let me just say, like, men struggle with bulimia too. Like, I have a friend who's a guy and he struggles with bulimia, so there's your little like end the stigma thingy, because like anyone can struggle with an eating disorder, mental health. Like, I don't know, I like Julia and I were watching like some video yesterday of like somebody trolling, like a response video of like people with eating disorders, and the guy was like, I never see a Jewish girl or Jewish person with an eating disorder. Like, you don't see men with eating disorders. Like, they just want to, like, get big muscles and stuff. And it's like, first of all, like, I don't know, I, like, Julia and I were watching, like, some video yesterday of, like, somebody trolling, like, a response video of, like, somebody trolling, the guy was like, I never see a Jewish girl or Jewish person with an eating disorder. Like, you don't see men with eating disorders. Like, they just want to, like, get big muscles and stuff. And it's like, first of all, I'm Jewish by, like, you know, my family, and I have an eating disorder. Hey. Also, Julia is exactly the same. Her family is Jewish as well, not religious. She's like exactly like me, like Jewish, but by association and culture, not practicing anything religious. It's so crazy how we have so much in common. Yeah, and it's like, how does like being Jewish, which you're like born, like how does that, what does that have to do with any? And same thing, like if you're a guy, what does that have to, how does that make you immune to a mental illness? It's not a gender illness. Like, I don't know, like if you're a human being, like you're susceptible to anything like that can affect your mind and your body. Like there are no like predetermined, like this will, like, I want to share this with everybody because maybe it's really going to be helpful for you. So for me, I kind of had to, I made like a chart where I divided it in half, and I had to think of what is the thing in my life, a person, people, things that embodies my bulimia. Like can I draw a parallel of like something that maybe somebody does or did, or like something that reminds me in my life of how like the tone and the vibe of like my bulimia. And so here's the thing, I just draw those parallels. By me taking my power back and working on getting better from my eating disorder, I'm taking away the power from these other sources because they have a lot in common with my bulimia, if not completely identical, but they're just different things. Whereas like one thing is outside of myself, but it affects me inside of myself emotionally, and the bulimia maybe does that in a little bit of a different way. It's got that cycle aspect and that fill and empty, false hope, false promises, leading to the crash and burn effect, which yeah, so kind of like this. So bulimia, you know, for me, I experience it like it kind of falsely seduces me and highlights the highs of the illness in my mind, which keeps me stuck in the cycle. Here's the thing with, I'm not going to say what the person or people or things that my bulimia embodies, because I don't want to put more emphasis on that, because that's not important. What's important is how I handle it, okay? So for me, the thing that person, I don't want to say what that is, but when it runs hot and cold, you don't know what to expect, and it's a source of stress. When things are good, again, I'm reading from this so I get it all out, you know. When things are good, I really want to believe they'll stay that way, whether I sabotage it or something else does. It sucks me in until I'm spit back out by the source and the crash and the burn effect. It's kind of like the storm after the calm, whether that's intentional by whatever this is coming from, people, places, things, whether they realize they do it, or the source, or whatever it is, you know. It is tampering with my emotions, it's tampering with who I am, and it's keeping me trapped. And the crash and burn effect, the calm after the storm, the keeping me trapped and silenced, the everything, that is literally the bulimia. That is the bulimia, and whatever else it is. So that's why you have to find what embodies it. Bulimia is sabotage, and it doesn't matter what it stems from or how it's manifested. It is always sabotage, okay? Because it is the crash and burn. It's the bright light of hope, and it burns out. Right when you're in the dark and you need a flashlight, that's when the battery dies. That's the bulimia. It is the bully who laughs at you while you're crying. It's the abusive parent who tells you that you should and shouldn't feel or think a certain way, or that your accomplishments should have been tweaked in such a way, or that your journey is wrong, and they try to rewrite your timeline and dictate your feelings and how you go about approaching them. They put words in your mouth that aren't yours, and they try to silence them. It's an abusive relationship. Somebody using you for your body, and they tell you good things about you, but they're just doing it because you are the vehicle to their fantasy. Same with bulimia. Without your body to carry out those behaviors, your bulimia would be dead. It wants you dead. That's how you have to think of it. You got to really put it into real perspective, okay? Your bulimia sees you, I'm just using like personification terms to make my point. I mean, I don't see it that way. Like, I don't think of it as another person, but this is to make my point. Your bulimia sees you just the way somebody who abuses people sees that, like, other people they've abused, okay? They see the people they've abused as just a slab of tofu, okay? Or like a slab of meat if you're not vegan. Okay, your bulimia also thinks of you, if, again, personification here to make my point, as a slab of tofu. You are not special, you're just a disgusting piece of shit. You're not those things, but when you engage in the bulimia, you're not letting, but those other things that make you feel like a slab of tofu, they're also winning. So when you don't engage in your disorder, no matter what, you don't make any compromises, no matter what, that means your body is your property now. You are kicking out these people, these things, these feelings, these places that never belonged there in the first place. And that doesn't mean like you have to kick out people, you know, who are in your life. Like I was saying, like, that doesn't mean you have to just like kick people out of your life, especially people like maybe you can't, like maybe there's like a situation where you're like dependent on something or someone or a place or a thing, and yeah, it's toxic, but you can't like remove yourself or them from you or it or whatever. That's exactly where I'm going with this. Like, you can't always do that. You can't always remove yourself from a toxic situation because maybe you don't have the resources, and that's okay. Like, we can still work with that, because if all this takes is viewing, whatever that may be, person, people, places, whatever, you just have to make that mental shift of viewing that as your bulimia, because when you can finally do that and believe it and feel it in your freaking entire being, that is like when you realize this is how you're, like, you have to remember this. This is another non-negotiable, is remembering this. You can't forget. You have to remind yourself of it constantly, because every time that you work on your recovery and stay abstinent and everything, like, you're not removing all the toxic stuff and pain from your life, because that's a process, and it's not always immediate, but when you have that, when you make that association, these things that like are tearing you down, just like the bulimia, if you just look at it as that is the bulimia, because it basically is, like, you know, if there's somebody in your life that swallows you and then spits you out because to them something about you is like not digestible, meaning like maybe they act like I was saying before, like maybe this about you isn't good enough, and then they make it a point to like make sure you know, and they're super hurtful, and maybe they gaslight you, and maybe they just make you feel like you're not valid. And when I say they, it could be somebody in your life, it could be somebody who's no longer in your life, but you remember everything. It could be a combination of different people from different periods of your life. It could be a situation you found yourself in that just made you feel a certain way, that almost awoke a very negative dialogue within yourself. There may be no people involved in this at all. It could have just been a situation that made you feel small, that made you feel like you are not important, that you don't matter. It could be absolutely anything, but you need to take that anything and associate that with the disorder. But like, it's got to be something that's relevant, otherwise it's not gonna work. But yeah, so like, that's kind of it for this video. I really hope that was helpful. I'm sorry I rambled all over the place, or if I drove your attention span nuts and just, you know, very disorganized, but again, that's just how I conduct my videos and my life. If you have any things you'd like me to make videos on in the future, let me know. I'm gonna really try to post more on YouTube, as I always would say, and then I don't. But I feel like I'm really at the point of a turning point, and I want to be able to document this, because I think that would be really amazing to like document me saving myself, because that's really hard to do. And I feel like by me documenting it, it keeps me going, even if there are bumps in the road, because bumps happen in this road, okay? But that is, like, I just think, I mean, you know what I think. Well, no, you don't. I kind of just made a whole video explaining, but I'm hungry. I'm gonna eat. Okay, bye.